All right, page 87. The answer to I was in Canaan when Absalom was slain. Line 10 was clearly David. King David had crossed over Jordan to the Canaanite refuge city of Mahanaim, while Joab fought the battle of the wood of Ephraim. There in the gateway, he heard the news of Absalom's death. In compliment to the See of St. David's, Guyon has combined this statement with I have been winged by the genius of the splendid crozier and St. David, as we Royal Welsh Fusiliers loyally add to all our totes on March 1st. One of the chief aims of Prince Llewellyn and the other Welsh patriots of Guyon's day was to free their church from English domination. Giraldus Cambrenus had spent the best part of his quarrelsome ecclesiastical life, 1145 to 1213, in campaigns to make the See of St. David's independent of Canterbury and fill it with a Welsh archbishop. But King Henry II and his two sons saw to it that only politically reliable Norman French churchmen were appointed to the Welsh sees, and appeals by the Welsh to the Pope were disregarded because the power of the Angevin kings weighed more at the Vatican than the possible gratification of a poor, divided, and distant principality. Who, in line 20, when the misleading in Asia has been removed, was with Noah in the ark. I guessed who Gardarn, who, according to the triads, led the Cymry from the east. With his plow oxen, he also drew up from the magic lake the monster Avane, which caused it to overflow in a universal flood. He had been fostered between the knees of Dylan in the deluge, but the lapwing I found later was deliberately confusing Dylan with Noah. Noah really belongs to the Enoch riddle in line 13. The present riddle must run, I have been fostered in the ark, but it could be enlarged with the statement in line 33. I have been teacher to all intelligences, for who Gadarn, who the mighty, who has been identified with the ancient Channel Island god Ho, was the Menes or Palamedes of the Cymry and taught them plowing in the region where Constantinople now stands, music and song. Who, in line 27, obtained the muse from the cauldron of Cerdwen, Guyon himself. However, the cauldron of Cerdwen was no mere witch's cauldron. It would not be unreasonable to identify it with the cauldron depicted on Greek vases, the name written above Cerdwen being Medea, the Corinthian goddess who killed her children, as the goddess Thetis also did. In this cauldron she boiled up old Asion and restored him to youth. It was the cauldron of rebirth and re-illumination. Yet when the other Medea, Jason's wife, played her famous trick, recorded by Diodorus Siculus, on old Pelus of Iolcus, persuading his daughters to cut him up and stew him back to youth, and then calmly denouncing them as parricides, she disguised her Corinthian nationality and pretended to be a Hyperborean goddess. Evidently, Peleus had heard of the Hyperborean cauldron and had greater faith in it than in the Corinthian one. It is not known whether my body is flesh or fish. This riddle in line 36 was not hard to answer. I remember the long-standing dispute in the medieval church whether or not it was right to eat barnacle goose on Fridays and other fast days. The barnacle goose does not nest in the British Isles. I handled the first clutch of its eggs ever brought there. They were found in Spitsbergen in the Arctic. It was universally believed to be hatched out of the goose barnacle. To quote the Oxford English Dictionary, a white seashell of the pendicolate genus of Caripides. The long feathery cirri protruding from the valve suggested plumage. Giraldus Cambrenus once saw more than 1,000 embryo barnacle geese hanging from one piece of driftwood on the shore. Campion wrote in his Elizabethan History of Ireland, barnacles, thousands at once, are noted along the shores to hang by the beaks about the edges of putrefied timber, which in process taking lively heat of the sun becomes waterfowls. Barnacle geese were therefore held by some to be fish, not fowl, and legitimate Friday eating for monks. The word barnacle, the same dictionary suggests, is formed from the Welsh brenig, or Irish bairnich, meaning a limpet or barnacle shell. Moreover, the other name for the barnacle goose, the brent or the brant, is apparently formed from the same word. Caius, the Elizabethan naturalist, called it Anser brandinus and wrote of it Brendend, what is that? Id animal dicatur. This suggests a connection between Bren, Bairn, Brent, Brant, Burn, and Bran, who, as the original Kagadoo makes plain, was an underworld god. For the northward migration of wild geese is connected in British legend with the conducting to the icy northern hell of the souls of the damned or of unbaptized infants. In Wales, the sound of the geese passing unseen overhead at night is supposed to be made by the Cwm Anwen, hounds of hell, with white bodies and red ears. In England, by Yell hounds, Heth hounds, Wish hounds, Gabriel hounds, or Gabriel ratchets. The hunter is called variously Gwyn, the white one. There was a Gwyn cult in pre-Christian Glastonbury. Herne the hunter, and Gabriel. In Scotland, he is Arthur. Arthur here may stand for Ardu, the Dark One, Satan's name in the Welsh Bible. But his original name in Britain seems to have been Bran, which in Welsh is Vron. The fish or flesh riddle must therefore belong with the other two Vron riddles already answered. The alternative text of the Hans Taliesin published in the Merovingian Archaeology is translated by D.W. Nash as follows. You want to do it? Yes, I'll read it, but then I'll do the commentary after. Oh, I hate reading this shit. Okay, here we go. An impartial chief bard am I to Elfin. My accustomed country is the land of the cherubim. Johannes the diviner, I was called by Murden. At length every king will call me Taliesin. I was 9 months almost in the belly of the hag Cardoin. I was at first little Guion, at length I am Taliesin. I was with my Lord in the highest sphere when Lucifer fell into the depths of hell. I carried the banner before Alexander. I know the names of the stars from the north to the south. I was in Tetragrammaton. Yeah. I conveyed Heon, the divine spirit, down to the vale of Ebron. I was in Canaan when Absalom was slain. I was in the hall of Don before Gwydion was born. I was on the horse's crupper of Eli and Enoch. I was on the high cross of the merciful Son of God. I was the chief overseer at the building of the Tower of Nimrod. I have been 3 times resident in the castle of Arianhod. I was in the ark with Noah and Alpha. I saw the destruction of Sodom and Gomorrah. I was in Africa, Asia, before the building of Rome. I am now come here to the remnants of Troia. I was with my king in the manger of the ass. I supported Moses through the waters of the Jordan. I was in the firmament with Mary Magdalene. I obtained my inspiration from the cauldron of Cardoin. I was bard of the harp to Dion the Lycaonian. I have suffered hunger with the son of the Virgin. I was in the White Hill in the hall of Saint-Villin in stocks and fetters 1.5 years. I have been in the buttery in the land of Trinity. It is not known what is the nature of its meat and its fish. I have been instructed in the whole system of the universe. I shall be till the day of judgment on the face of the earth. I have been in an uneasy chair above seer sitting and the whirling around without motion between three elements. Is it not the wonder of the world that cannot be discovered?